assemble the front end on this thing, put all my parts back together, and that should basically tie up the front end, aside from a little bit of rust repair. So. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Sorry about that, but I made a lot of progress and then realized my camera ran out of memory. So, get you caught up. I think it ran out of memory whenever I was assembling the front end, putting all the parts back on, the rack and pinion, the shocks, and all that stuff. So, everything's assembled. It's all bolted in back where the bushing mounts were, that I fabricated a little bit ago. And tonight I put the sway bar in. As you can see, well, you might not be able to see it, but the pipe that I had welded across the frame here to prevent the frame from spreading, I cut it off. I don't need it anymore. And I also located the sway bar bushing mounts and drilled my holes there. So that's pretty well where I'm at. The front end is done completely, for as far as the Crown Vic install goes. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Really not too hard, honestly. It just takes time, of course, with anything. All the fabrication work, the cutting the steel, grinding it down, you know, making it pretty, and then welding it all. I mean, I've had, shit, I got like probably have almost 6 to 8 foot of weld. So yeah, it takes a while, just that stuff, but the concept is really easy to grasp. It's easy to do, simple measurements. The fab work, like I said, it's really not that involved. So I'm pretty happy with it. I can't wait to see how the thing rides and steers and tracks and everything. I mean, it's going to be sweet. So now I'm going to move to the back of the chassis. I've got a triangulated 4-link kit coming. Should be here tomorrow. I was expecting it today, but it worked out. I got to go get some cutting wheels and different things tomorrow at lunch, and then I can cut in the rear and do my step notch that I'm wanting to do, and start fabricating back there. It's gonna be a lot of welding back there, but it shouldn't be as long, or it shouldn't take as long. So I'll probably just jinx myself, but we'll see. So that's what the next video series will be on. I'll flip this sucker around here in the garage and start working on the rear. So I'll take the camera around and kind of show you everything, one last final shot of this puppy, and we'll close up shop. Alright guys, as promised, I'll walk you around here and show you the final install. Basically one last go around of everything I did up front, aside from all the cutting and stuff that I did prior before I got the camera and started all this jazz. So So there's a good shot of the entire front end. First thing was obviously locating these holes for on both sides for the bolts to come up through. I had a couple measurements I found off the internet, but I measured from all four corners of the truck. A good reference point is typically your core support mount, but as you can see, this one had a little bit of cancer, so that was not a good reference. Aside from that, you do have holes on either side of the frame on these 73 to 79s in the identical spots. So you can see, let me zoom, you can see them right here. You got there and there. So I used that as an initial reference. And then for a secondary check, I've got the bumper, sorry about that, the bumper mounts, or the bumper holes I should say, on either side of the frame. I measured from those. And then I took another another measurement from a third reference point, clear back on the back of the frame on this cross member. This cross member was square. Imagine that. And I took that measurement to the back hole on the Crown Vic on both sides. The back mounting hole. So after I double and triple checked, and then went over and did that like 3 or 4 more times, I finally went to the bottom. Of course, I flipped the frame over, but I drilled my holes in the bottom behind where these backing plates are, and then I cut the frame out up top here. Instead of, you know, doing 2 holes, and I think the bottom one I ended up going with a 5/8 inch hole. These are of course metric, the mounting bolts on the Ford Crown Vic, so a 5/8 is pretty damn close. Drilled the 5/8 holes on either side, 4 of them. Cut these frame notches out, and inside, I don't know if this thing will, yeah, you can kind of see it right there. Those are 3/4 inch. I think they're schedule 40, maybe schedule 80 nipples. They're not super thick, but really you don't need thickness whenever you're applying the force axially. So with that said, instead of having to notch a huge ass hole up here, I just cut the frame out, slip them puppies in, cut them to length. That way I keep the mounting surface of the upper aluminum support here on the Crown Vic parallel with this surface, and you might be able to make out in here, and you'll remember it from the last video, but I took 16mm nuts and welded them up top, so that way I'm applying force on the bottom half of the Crown Vic front end, and then also able to apply force to the upper mounting surface. Kind of a double whammy, a little bit of a safety factor there. You really don't have to do that. You can bring your tubes clear up to this, but I went ahead and opted for the threads. Once I got that thing bolted in, then I started on the boxing plates. And this is just for some added rigidity in the frame, added strength. There's going to be a lot of weight up here whenever it's all said and done with. When I end up going with the 12 valve Cummins or whatever diesel motor I end up finding. You'll remember the fish mouth that I was talking about. That'll give the frame a little bit of room to still flex up front. If you just cut them straight off and just have a regular rectangle plate in there, it's not guaranteed that you're going to get stress fractures, but it increases the likelihood of it, just because it causes the frame to be a little bit more rigid than what it was originally designed to be. Of course this is too, but those fish mouths actually allow it to flex. If you can see back here, whenever I was boxing the frame, I went ahead and did these plates, these reinforcement plates on either side of the frame where the shock tires used to sit. Remember me telling you the shock towers had a little gap. They weren't seal welded all the way around, so over time you got all kinds of shit built up down there, you know, dirt, grime, sand, water, you name it. Who knows, the guy might have spilled his fucking beer down in there or something. So, you know, it just corrodes over time, and it looked like hell on both sides. That's where a lot of the forces are going to be. You know, most of your weight's up front in a pickup truck, in most vehicles for that matter. So I went ahead and welded on those 3/16 inch reinforcing plates. Let's see, after that, get my stand out of the way. So after that, I went back here and started on the lower control arm, the bushing mounts, which if you get down here and see, so there's your bushing. That's actually on these front ends, that's your caster adjustment. What I did from the old Crown Vic front end I actually had these bushings, and they were old and beat up and worn out and ready for the trash. But I cut the bottom bushing off and used this plate, flipped it upside down, cut these the lips off of it, and actually mounted it. And that's what you see right here. If you've seen anything there, the camera action is still shitty. I apologize for that. But reinforced it, got a gusset there, it's welded to the frame, both sides. Same thing over here. And then there's 3 bolts. You got one here, here, and then there's one back in here. And then that's the same on both sides. So there you can see that one. After that, and that's when my camera died. Or well, my camera didn't die, I ran out of space. I was doing too much shit. Mounted all the crap back up, put the rack on, put the coil strut assemblies on, the upper control arms, lowers, new tie rods on both end, and new sway bar end links. The bushings were still good. They were tighter than a motherfucker, so I didn't opt to change them out. So, and then of course, you know, new ball joints, upper lower ball joints, all that was already installed on the upper and lowers on the control arms. So this front end is, as far as the bushings and all that shit goes, is basically new. So we'll see how long it lasts. I'm hoping the pinion, or the rack and pinion, excuse me, is still good, so we'll find out. If not, you pop on Rock Auto and get one for $100 or something. So that's the beauty of these Crown Vics, man. These Crown Vic front ends are so freaking cheap, all the parts for them. That's one of the good things about doing this swap, you know. Then tonight, like I said before, I finalized the sway bar, so I mounted it up. Mounted the bushings. That was simple, super simple. As you can see, it's just the traditional, I guess it's like a U bracket. Put them up there, marked the holes, drilled them. Can't get much simpler than that. And that, folks, is where I'm at right now. So, got a flat tire, no big deal. So, like I said, next item on the list, after I get my my 4-link kit. I got my 4-link kit from Paul Horton's Welder Series. If you go to, actually I think if you just type in Paul Horton Welder Series, you'll find his website. He's up somewhere in Canada, I think maybe Ontario. Don't quote me on that. I know it is in Canada. But he has all kinds of stuff for fabricators, you know, chassis parts, you name it, man. So I got a big step notch kit that I'm going to put in this thing. And then got the triangulated 4-link kit. I mean, it comes with It comes with all your bars. It comes with bushings. It comes with your heims, your frame mounts, everything. So I'm gonna check that out. This will be my first 4-link that I've bought from him. So I've had a couple other ones before. Michigan Metal Works, they make a pretty good kit. Trying to think, I think I got some generic Speedway kit one time, but it was still, I've never ran into a bad one. So we'll see how the welder series, how it goes, how it does. But let's see. So here's the rear end that she's going on. A little bit rusty, but we'll clean it up. That's just your standard police issue Ford 8.8 differential. It's got 327s with a track lock in it. From what I've read online, they're decent rear ends. You know, they're nothing special, nothing to write home about, but we'll see how it does and see if it can handle some torque and burning some rubber. If not, I've got a backup 9-inch. I'd go with it right now, but it's got like 411s. It's not a posi. It's out of a 50-something pickup truck, so it's harder than hell to find a disc brake conversion kit for it. Most of them, you know, they're built for the sedans and the 9-inches out of cars out of that era. But we'll see what happens with this thing, and if all else fails, I'll just cut the brackets off of it and install another 9-inch, or go find me another 8.8 or something. We'll see. A lot of guys have had success. I haven't read very many guys who have used them in like a diesel swap like I'm doing. So we'll see. I mean, the truck's going to be super light, really. All the weight's going to be up front. I may tow with it eventually, here and there. Probably pull the razor around. Little 12-foot trailer. So nothing too heavy. Like I said, this sucker is going to be a freaking burnout machine. So with that, I'm going to call it a night. And this will be the end of part, I don't even know, maybe part 3. Just depends on how big of a video I really want to make. It may be the end of part 2. I don't know. So you can tell me, because I don't know right now. I haven't edited it. There's a shit ton of film, so it may take me a couple days. I've had a couple guys like, man, when's the next installment? So it's pretty cool that I got a few people interested. I don't know, just kind of adds a little to it. It's pretty cool, and I think it'll be sweet here in the long run to actually see this sucker come together. Do some sort of time lapse or something with all the film I have. Do it super fast, because I like to sit here and talk. So with that, I'm gonna call it a night. Peace.